we're stuck. The reason why we're tearing apart this carb for like the 20 millionth time now, if you guys haven't seen my other videos, I got this bike for pretty cheap. It was like $1,200 or $1,300 or something odd dollars. Yeah, I was having issues with backfire, red hot exhaust. I just couldn't even get it started. And finally we figured out that after a carb clean, I tried different jets and all the other stuff. We figured out that this slide in here, this little plate, it was upside down. It was flipped around. I don't know if I did it. I don't know if the kid before me tried doing it or what, but it was flipped upside down, and that's why the reason for the bad backfire and all that stuff. And I thought that it fixed the red hot exhaust. Well, it didn't. My exhaust was still super hot. It was getting red and everything like that. So we're tearing it apart. I'm going to, I think inside of it is a 178 for a main jet, and I'm going to go up to a 185. So the stock is supposed to be a 182. So hopefully this 185 will change the richness of the fuel and make it richer to where it won't run as hot, and the red hot exhaust will go away. Now if it doesn't, well then I don't know what else to tell you guys. I'm just going to run it, and hopefully I don't blow the sucker up. So the kid before me had to have been running it, if he was even riding it or whatever. The person before me that had it, that was actually riding it, should have rode it before, so there shouldn't be any issues. It just runs hot. Now after researching on forums and stuff, the YZ250F, I think the KX250, and another model of the bike, they also have red hot exhaust. So I don't know if that's just a thing or what, but it kind of bugs me because I don't like when stuff runs super hot like that. I want to keep everything as cool as possible and running in the tip-top form. But if it just can't happen, I can't figure it out, I'm tired of dealing with it, I just want to ride the dang bike. So that's what we're going to do. So I ordered a main jet. The stock pilot jet is already in there. It's the same size. I think it was like a 45 or something. So we're going to run with that for the stock jet. And we're going to just change it to a 185 from a 178 for the main jet. So I don't know if you can see this, but here's the main jet, and it is a 178. I don't know if you can see it, but that's a 178, and we have here a 185 and a new gasket. So we're going to put this 185 in, put everything back together, see if she fires up and runs, and if the exhaust gets hot. And if it still does, at least we're getting more fuel. So I don't know if I'm going to have to change my needle now. Alright, 185 is in. Let's pull out our new gasket here and get this in here. Fits in there super nice and pretty. That's what we're looking for. Alright, we got the bowl back on. Everything's seated nice and pretty. We're going to put the fuel and air mixture screw back in at 3 1/2 turns out. and we're going to see what happens. Now, we might have to adjust this because if it's getting too much fuel, then we're going to have to adjust it, which you pretty much should just start all over and turn it out, 1 1/4, and then go from there is what they recommend online. Alright, so we're going to turn gas to on. Make sure there's no leaks. I don't see any. This bike hasn't been started probably in about 2 to 3 weeks when I realized that the exhaust was getting hot still. We're going to pull the choke out and we're going to see if we can get it to run. Well, I tried turning off the lights, going through it, and it's still getting red. So I don't understand why it would be getting red. It just blows my mind. I've clearanced the valves, I've changed the jetting. We've got stock jetting in there now from factory. The only difference we have on there is this FMF exhaust. So I don't know if that would be any different, but if it's more airflow, I don't see why it would be getting red if there's more airflow. So I don't know. We're just going to start changing all the stuff I want to. So I want to do new coolant lines. I want to do new coolant in here. I have to put a new chain and sprockets on as well, so we're going to get to going. I'm going to put all this stuff back together, and actually I'll probably just leave it all off until I do all the lines and stuff. I'll let this cool down, pull off the gas tank so I have a lot more room to work, and we're going to go from there. So I don't know, I guess I'll do a little bit more research, but from what I see on there, people ride them all the time when they're red, and they don't have an issue. So I guess we're just going to run it. So alrighty guys, let's get into it here. Alright, well, I got this whole bike torn apart. I was going to go and do all the coolant stuff, but I ended up starting to grease everything because everything, I don't know when it's been greased, and you don't want to trust anybody. If they say they grease it, and obviously this one has not been greased. I already did this bottom on this, I don't even know what you want to call it, the knuckle or whatever, where it connects to your rear shock, your swing arm, and all that stuff. So I've already redone this one, but if you come in here, I've already got some grease packed in there because all of the needle bearings are completely dry and just fall right out. So I got to clean all those up. I've got this all greased. I'm going to stick all those back in here with the grease so it'll keep them from falling out. The grease will make them stick in there. And then I can lather a whole bunch of grease in and put these sleeves back in. And this one has a sleeve on each end, as you can see. This one's got a cap, and then it's got the other sleeve. Well, this other sleeve is missing, or this other cap anyway. So I don't have the cap, so I don't know where the cap's at, but it's not a good thing when that's missing because we kind of need it. So I guess I got to figure something out, or I guess I'll just run it because it's been running like this, for who knows how long. So yeah, make sure to grease your stuff, make sure to check it over, make sure to do maintenance on all of your stuff, because this is what happens. You buy junk from other people and you got to fix their junk, which it's okay because I actually like working on this stuff and learning about this stuff because I've never had to do this before. But you just watch some YouTube videos, and that's why I'm not showing you guys, because I don't really know what I'm doing right now because I've never had to do it. So just doing some maintenance on the bike and everything, greased up, lubed up. I got all the axle off for the tire over here. So yeah, it's a little steps every single time. We got it running pretty good. I looked up on some more forums, talked with some guys on the Facebook, the groups, and they said that don't even worry about the red hot exhaust. So I'm just going to leave it. All right, we finally got everything put back together. Like I said, I was going to show you guys what I was doing because I didn't really know what I was doing either. I forgot I got to put my brake lever back on. But yeah, I mean, everything's all greased. We got all of our pivot points under here, all of our suspension, all of our A-arm bolts, everything's greased. I did have the rear wheel off, but I put it back on to make sure everything worked. And then we're gonna have to take it back off anyway because we're gonna have to change that sprocket out. And yeah, I mean, the whole front, or the whole rear is done. Next is we're gonna move on to the front. I want to take off my triple clamps and stuff here, my forks, and grease the bearings in the head unit right there because they probably haven't been greased because these ones look terrible. There was a whole bunch of rust and junk and they were all dry. So I mean, I pulled out all the needle bearings, half of them fell out anyway, so I knew I had to redo them anyway. So I mean, it was a little bit of a task, but we got it done. So next we're gonna move on to the front here, get this all done, and then we can move on to the actual stuff I kind of know what to do. I've never done it, but I mean, replacing lines and filling it up with coolant, it shouldn't be too hard. And here she sits right here, a whole bunch of clutter. I haven't worked on this sucker probably a month. I've been falling way behind on videos, haven't been posting at all. I've got back seats of my car, I got a flat tire, I got woodworking stuff. I mean, leaf blower, the whole kitchen's torn apart still. I've been busting butt to get that done, and we haven't had time to work on anything. So the last time we left off was I greased the whole rear end. I still want to go through and do the coolant lines, put in coolant and stuff, but I do want to take apart the front, the triple clamps and the shocks, and I want to grease the bearings in that, because looking at what those look like, I still have all my stuff laid out, and this was in the bottom of that, dried up and all nasty, so I don't even want to see what's in the front of that, because hopefully I don't have to replace any bearings or pull any bearings off. So other than that, I'm going to clean this area up, and we're going to get to working on this dirt bike finally, so I can actually ride it this year, hopefully. All right, so we got everything taken apart. We got the whole head. We've got the actual triple clamps right here. The grease, or the bearings, I mean, they're pretty good. They're not noise or anything, but they definitely need some new grease. It's been on there for a little while. Here's the top bearing, and they can definitely use some cleaning, but they are still, at least they have grease on them. Here are the forks I got up here. This one was super tough to get out, and then this one was pretty easy, so I'm not sure why that was, but yeah, I mean, the races all look pretty good. I'm just going to clean everything up and pretty much re-grease it and put it all back together. That's what I'm glad to see. At least this right here is all greased and the seals look good, so I don't know, I was surprised. I already got these suckers packed with grease. I don't know, on YouTube I saw it, they were putting them up on the stem a little bit just so it kind of works itself down. I've got that sucker as packed as I can without taking it off the actual stem, because I'd have to press on a new one. And they, everybody on YouTube does the same thing, so had to do a little YouTube on that. But yeah, got it all up on the stem there, and then I've got this one swimming in grease as well. That sucker's all packed full of grease. That actually comes out of the head, and I laid some grease in my palm and then just packed it with grease like normal. If you don't know how to do that, look it up on YouTube, and they'll show you how to pack bearings or whatever for whatever you need. So everything is all greased back up. We're gonna put this sucker back together and we move on to the motor. And just like that, we got the whole front end put back together. It was kind of not really a daunting task, but it took me about 2 hours to actually, I'd say hour and a half, just about hour and a half to tear everything apart. And like I said, I've never done any of this before, so I'm not going to show you guys how to do it, because I don't know really what I was doing. I was just going off of some YouTube videos, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple as long as you just put all your bolts back together the way everything came. And like you can see here, I marked where like my forks were lined up at, and I have little marks on where all my bolts were, because I don't have well, I do have a torque wrench, but I never looked up the torque specs. I'm going to go back and do that later. I just want to get everything on and make sure that all my stuff was all tightened down correctly. Axle's all greased. All right, there goes the cover. I just got blasted with coolant. It's all right, though. Looks like some fresh looking coolant. All right. Don't lose that copper smash washer on the end of that. I'm going to put that back in. I'm not going to tighten it down, because I do want to pull it out again once I put the new one on, just to make sure that it's all good. So we have 3 lines. We've got one line here. We've got this little one that tees across, and then we have another one that starts in the middle of the engine over here on the other side, and then it goes up to the top of the other side of the radiator on the other side. So we have 3 lines, and then I have brand new lines. I don't even know if these are legit like dirt bike coolant lines, which they kind of don't look like it. This one looks a little big and it looks like it's just cut off. So we got some new ones. We got a little cheap ones off of Amazon, or off of eBay. They were 28 bucks. Buddy ran them, and they're pretty good. I'll show them to you. So here are the lines. It came with 4. I'm not sure. I thought there was only 3. I guess I'll have to go through and look again. But you've got your top T at the top. You've got your kind of wiggle one right here. And then you've got your little one that shoots across. And these 2 are different sizes, so it must be just in case they're kind of different. But this is a GPI Racing. Found them on eBay. My buddy used to run them. And his name is TSB Performance, off of YouTube here as well. He's working on a Mustang, so if you want to check that out. I'm not real familiar with all the Mustang stuff, but motor swap, transmission swap, all that stuff. So if you want to check him out, TSB Performance. But yeah, he used to run these. He said they were good at no issues, like 28 bucks. So we're going to install those and get these suckers on. It's going to look sweet with the red lines from the carb, and then I'm going to have bright blue lines for the coolant. It's going to look pretty nice. Wow. I ended up pulling off the whole radiator because I couldn't get this bottom hose off, and I now saw where this 4th one is. It's way up here in the top. I didn't realize they transferred across, but the reason why you actually put stuff on that fits is because they had this wire and they twisted it on to get it on. I could not, for the life of me, get it off. And then I, took off the radiator. It was only about 3 bolts or 4 bolts. Yeah, 3 bolts. And I took it off, and that thing was on the bottom. So got it off, figured out why it wasn't coming off. I'm gonna get this bottom hose off, and I smell like coolant now everywhere. There's the 4th one right there. Time to put the new ones on. I've got to cut this one right here because it's a little long, if you can tell there. So we're going to snip that one. That one's going to be our bottom one. And then this, bigger one will be, or the longer but bigger diameter one will be the top side. So wow, that went on way easier than I thought it was going to. Alright, lower hose clamp and tube is on. We're going to dump some, it's that engine ice I'm going to try. See if that does any good. Keeps it a lot cooler than normal. Alright, so I'm going to put the cap on this. I'm going to let it sit overnight, see if it does anything. It's getting super late. Alright, I've been terrible getting with these videos and working on this thing because I've been having so much stuff going on. I keep getting stuff in the garage here. I keep having to rearrange stuff just to be able to work on something. So I did a whole bunch of stuff off camera just because I was trying to get this stuff done. I just want to get this bike done so I can try riding it this season actually. So what I actually did off camera is I did the new front sprocket, I did the new rear sprocket, and I put the new chain on. The chain, breaking the chain and cutting it to length, everything was super easy. I didn't show you guys just because, like I said, I haven't really done it on a dirt bike chain. I didn't know if it was going to be any different from the mini bike, but it was pretty much the exact same. It went over really super easy. I can show you guys how to do it on the leftover chain that I have. Now, I took the blocks here and I actually slid them. They were way back here, hanging out the back, like I think almost halfway. So I slid them all the way up. I undid the lock nut, and then I tightened up the actual the bolt stop, and I just sunk that all the way in, and I moved these all the way back. So now I'm on the 3rd notch on the back with this little line here. That's how you can figure out to make sure that each side is aligned. So I've got 1, 2, and I'm on my 3rd mark. And if you come over to this side here, I don't know if you can actually see it or not, but they are the exact same. You've got 1, 2, 3 on the 3rd notch here. So they're both the same. They're both even, and they're both working pretty good. So yeah, other than that, we pretty much got everything tightened up. The chain is tensioned really nice, and I do want to make sure that I do have it right, because whenever I've been looking online, you kind of just put your finger in here, and but it feels like it's just kind of tight because when I line up all 3 fingers, it's kind of hard to get in here with all 3 fingers. So I don't know if I do have a little bit tight, but when I come down here and move it, I'm kind of in there. So I just want to make sure that when the swing arm comes up, the chain doesn't bind and get tight. Normally they say you can take off the shock in the back and make sure that whenever you get into like a sagged position, it doesn't bind up and get all tight. So I'm thinking that I might have it a little tight, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. If we have to, we can just move the bike or the rear wheel up a little bit further. But yeah, brand new sprocket in the front and rear, and yeah, other than that, I just have to put gas in. I tried firing up, and I wasn't getting fuel for some reason. I didn't know why. And my gas tank doesn't have any gas in it. Now, I think the reason why I am getting kind of hot is because I was using 87 octane, and I forgot that these bikes do require at least 93, 95, whatever it is. So I'm gonna go try to find some race fuel, maybe 100 octane or whatever it is, and see if that helps with the red hot exhaust. And other than that, like I said, I'm just gonna ride it, and I do need to get it started up just so I can check the level of the coolant. So yeah, we did a little bit of stuff off camera. I am gonna put this thing back together and get it all ready to go, and I do want to check to make sure that my chain is actually loose enough to where it's not going to bind up. So yeah, I'm going to kind of do that off camera as well. I just want to catch you guys up on what I've been doing. All right, we finally got the bike over here at my parents'. We're going to do a final ride here. See, actually it's going to be the first test ride. Going over the oil and stuff from it sitting. I didn't have anything on my dipstick, So I was checking that, and I didn't have anything on there, so I added oil back at my house a little while ago, and then it was super overfilled. So all this oil right here was the extra oil in my bike, so I had to drain it all out, but we got it all figured out. We're gonna do first test ride here. Fired it up, and first kick, been sitting, I fired up last night, got some 93 rec fuel, and fired up, and then this morning didn't have to choke it or nothing. First kick, fired it up, so I think we're set. I just want to ride around a little bit. I've already kind of just put it around the yard, but I want to kind of just hammer on a little bit just to see what the spark plug looks like and see if it's getting enough fuel. Yeah, we're gonna rip it right here. Forgot my helmet. Actually, I don't know where my helmet's at, and I have a clip for that for the GoPro, so I don't know where that's at, but I'm having the chest cam, so hopefully you guys can actually see you know, what's going on and stuff. I'll adjust it, but here it is. We finally got it over here, and we're gonna rip. So alrighty, let's fire this sucker up. All right, exhaust here. If you guys can see, exhaust is cold to the touch. Radiators, everything's cold. Let's see how many kicks it does. I probably rode this around the yard maybe 45 minutes ago, I'd say, so it's got nice compression. First kick. Sounds good. Not a lot of ticking at all. First gear. And she stalled it. Runs pretty good. Exhaust, it's hot, but that's to be expected. Radiators, they're just a little warm, but yeah, I'm gonna say this is successful.